Welcome to the Couch Sports Talk podcast. I am Goozy, and I'm here with philanthropist and Young E. How the fuck are y'all doing today?
Doing great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, some great fucking basketball, and we're really close to football season.
Absolutely.
And the Ravens got a little bit of news today, so we got something to talk about with the Young E's team. I'm hyped up about that. But first, we need to talk about the certified bad man in the NBA. Just happened tonight, Sunday night, because this man LUKA really is a
bad man.
Talk to him.
Whoa, this brother's on another level. I'm just trying to tell you something.
okay. He had, and it was like in the middle of the fourth, and you guys were doing your own little thing, and this dude had like 30 points and, like 12 rebounds, 10 assists. And I was like, man, this man's having a historical night. And then before the game's over, 43 points. I don't even have the numbers in front of me, but I think 17 rebounds, 12 assists, or it was the other way around. Oh my, it's just unbelievable. It makes me sad. Deep down inside, it hurts. My heart fractures every time that this man, this bitch ass white boy, has these fucking historical games. It is just incredible. So I know you guys didn't really watch the game, but you clearly seen that highlight play. What were your first reactions after seeing that?
Man, listen, I was watching the game the first half, and then I left and went home because I don't really like watching the Mavericks because every time I watch the Mavericks, he's being LUKA. He's putting up 40-point triple doubles in the playoffs in his third year, and it just sucks to see. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to really enjoy watching LUKA play because it's always going to be in the back of my mind that he should be a Sacramento King. But honestly, yeah, it was I'd say it's a coming out party tonight. It reminds me a lot of LeBron when he had that, 50-point game against the Pistons where he scored the last 20 points. It reminds me of that type of performance where, he's going to obviously have the national media attention for a few days. And really, man, the Clippers are in trouble. I really do think they are. They got something going on. Maybe this is the load management getting back to them where they're just not in sync right now. But I mean, it's tied up 2-2. It's best of 3 right now, and they got to come back and win because it obviously doesn't matter that Luke is hurt. And a big thing too is that Kristaps didn't play today.
Yes.
He was out very last minute, and when Porzingis has played, he's been great. He had 34 points in the last game. So, the Clippers are on the ropes. I'm sure they're going to respond, but in the meantime, man, it's just a celebration of Luka and how good he's been.
DONCIC became just the third player in NBA postseason history with a 40-point, 15-rebound, 10-assist game, joining Oscar Robertson and Charles Barkley.
And Chuck.
Championship fucking Chuck.
Championship Chuck.
But, man, it's just insane to watch Luka, especially like you take into consideration this is his first playoff, his second year in the league.
Yep.
And he has full control of it like he's a 10-year vet.
Yeah.
He's knowing what the defense is doing. He knows where all of his teammates are at all times. He makes not only the right passes, but he does it to where the defense doesn't even know where the ball is going next.
Right.
And really especially like after watching LeBron after all these years and just some of the other superstars, what makes a superstar, not only are they putting up the performances that they do, but they're elevating the talent around them.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what Luka is doing. He didn't need it would have been nice if Porzingis was out there and the game would have been probably a little bit easier.
Right.
But he's elevating the entire team around him, and it really makes you think, what if Kristaps didn't get ejected in that game 1?
They could be down 3-1. Easy.
And it's just, I can't even believe what's happening.
Yeah.
My gosh. And I don't want to like start the comparisons yet, but it also does kind of remind me of the Michael Jordan against the Celtics putting up all those points and stuff.
That's
going
fair.
up against historically great talent in his first playoff rounds. Young E, what do you think about Luka?
I mean, I agree with you guys. It hurts when when I saw him at Real Madrid, I was like, this guy is something like cool. He brings a lot to the table. I was really pulling for the Kings to get him. I thought with Vlade, it was definitely a move they were going to make. And obviously, as time continues to go on, it's just more and more disappointing. But for LUKA, he's an amazing player. I mean, he's on his way to being one of the best players in the NBA. And I love to see it from a young guy like that. I mean, he's what, 20, 21 years old right now, out there, putting up 43 points, making the game winner, triple-double, all of that, putting the team on his back. Like, that's something special. So I hope he can continue it, and I'd love to see the Clippers get knocked out of the first round.
Hell yeah. And, this is one of those performances, and that last fucking shot's going to be something that I remember for a while. It, kind of gave me the same kind of feeling for when Dame hit that shot over George Paul. It was just one of those nights where you're not going to forget it anytime soon. Do you see, Phil, like, seriously, this team competing in the West?
It's tough to tell. I mean, I can tell you that I definitely see them beating the Clippers. Like, it's not impossible. They just got to win 3 games. And the thing is, I think the reason, we talk a lot, or you hear announcers say a lot, did they win the game or did they lose the game? So, like, you got to look at it. And the way I see it, it's not the fact that the Mavericks are going and winning these games. It's the fact that the Clippers are losing them, which means that they're in control. I mean, they're clearly the better team. It's just the fact that they haven't played up to their potential. So, I mean, yeah, if the Mavericks win, since the Clippers are a superior opponent, I don't see why they'd have a problem competing with the Jazz or the Nuggets in the next round. But really, I think the Clippers are still going to find a way to get something turned around and win this because, Kawhi is the best player on the court and they have a better supporting cast. The big problem that I see, the big takeaway I see from the series is that you just can't rely on George Paul in big moments. And you know what? I'm not trying to be overtly disrespectful because I like Paul George as a player, but you just got to be better than what he's given you so far. I mean, and you're going up against Anthony Davis and LeBron, where we saw in game 1 of that series, Anthony Davis had an off night and he had 30 points, and you're putting together off nights where you have 9 points on 2 for 11 shooting, and you played 40 minutes. So you need more out of him. And if you don't, you're going to get beat by a 7 seed, a good 7 seed. I'll give you that, but you're going to get beat by a 7 seed if you keep playing like this.
And before we get to Pandemic P, I did want to kind of talk about, are you worried at all with Porzingis and his health? Do you think this is going to be a constant issue?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Mavs are just doing the right thing. They're being overtly cautious. You never want to see your big man with knee problems, and you definitely don't, I mean, obviously they want to compete for a championship, but you don't want Porzingis blowing his knee out in the bubble of all places. So I don't blame them for being cautious with that. And then that's the best thing you can do is just give him the rest. He can probably come back and play game 6 or game 5, and still be himself and give some type of effort and not have that constant wear and tear. But yeah, it's definitely concerning. I mean, he's 7'3", so anytime you have a lower ligament issue at that height, it's going to be something to be concerned about.
Definitely. And now going forward with Pandemic P, the also before we do move on to that, I do want to say I would really appreciate if Twitter, every time that LUKA has a big game, stops having the Kings and Vlade trending every single time.
Every time.
It just hurts.
Big FU to Adam Schefter today for that out of nowhere assassination bullet sent at the Kings Twitter.
Just came for the throats, bro. It just it's too much. It's already hard enough being a Kings fan, then you got to deal with that shit. But yeah, the thing is that I will say, not to go like full disrespectful about Pandemic P, but I do love that nickname. And he may not be scoring points, and he did say a very obvious statement after the game that if he was shooting better, the series would be different.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no fucking shit. But he is still playing decent defense from what I've seen. He's still a good defender. He is rebounding and he is getting some assists. I've seen him make especially one good pass. Like he got past somebody and, he's not scoring very well, so he passed it out to Shamit, and he hit the corner three. Like, if he can continue doing stuff like that, I think they can be okay because they do have so much depth. But at the end of the day, if you're going to want to beat a team like the Lakers and be the best team in the West, you're going to need to step up and be that second superstar on that team.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to win.
Definitely.
Do you think that Pandemic P is going to get out of this, or do you think this is just who he is in the playoffs?
That's a tough question to
answer. Or
answer.
is it an injury thing? Like, I'm so confused by what he's doing with like the ice on the shoulder all the time. And
I have thoughts on that as well. Can we stop NBA players, athletes in general? If you have a bad game, you go to the press conference and you got 7 ice bags on your shoulder, or you got a cast on. LeBron is the king of this because when he got swept in the finals, he came out with the cast on his hand and he was like, "Yeah, I broke my hand game 1. I just didn't tell you guys." Can we stop? First of all, let's stop with that. All right, everybody's hurt. I get it. Second of all, to answer your question about Paul George, I've seen him be really great in playoff series. Like, he took LeBron in his prime in Miami. He took him to 7 games, and he was putting up like 35 plus a game as the lead guy, as the number 1 guy. That was before he broke his leg, though. And obviously he's returned to a high level of play since then. But, this is the 3rd postseason in a row where he's really just been a 0 or like a net negative for his team in the playoffs. Like, obviously with the Thunder last year, the years before that with the Pacers, he was not who he was supposed to be, So yes, he can turn it around, but I don't think it's a physical thing. I think it's a mental thing for some reason. He just needs to step up. He needs to have confidence. He needs to keep shooting until he's out of his slump. Like you said, he's playing good defense, of course, as always. He's passing, he's getting rebounds, but you need more from that from your second guy on a contender, especially if you want to be a champion. So I guess if you're a Clippers fan, you just hope that he keeps shooting. You hope that some of them start falling. And all it takes is one game for him to get back in his rhythm, and then he should be good to go.
And I think this also proves that when he was on the Thunder, that Russell Westbrook really was getting too much of the blame.
Yeah.
And I know that Russell Westbrook is going to be one of the most hated players just because of how he is. And then there are some times where he can be a little bit of a ball hog and just not make the smartest play. But at the end of the day, like, I remember kind of looking at that trade and wondering why they gave so much up for Paul George, because we just seen him in that playoffs and they were out in the first round. They had 2 superstars and they didn't even look like they did that much. I'm so mad.
I was just looking like, hold up, bro. What is he doing back there?
It's all good. We're on the couch, bro.
What's good?
But I do believe, too, it is a confidence thing. I just don't know if he's going to – it's just so much pressure on you, especially being on one of the top 2 contenders. Is he going to be able to rebound from this and regain his confidence anytime soon? I don't know. I can't really say that he is. But if he can continue to be a solid rebounder, a good defender, and just passing the ball, and I think they can be okay. They got a great coach. They have good depth. But, Young E, what do you think about George Paul?
I mean, Paul George is one of my favorite players, so it does hurt me to watch him play as bad as he has been. But, this is an issue for him, and, I hope he can snap out of it one game and go and put up 40 points and do something like LUKA did tonight. But from what I've seen with him so far, I just don't see it happening. I mean, he's just been struggling, throughout the playoffs, throughout the bubble as a whole, actually. And there's just no sign of it really picking up anywhere. So I'm genuinely concerned about, what's going on with him right now. Again, I don't know if it's a physical thing either. He could be hurt, but, it's just a struggle right now for him. So hopefully he gets better, but I don't see it happening. And I think there is big potential for them to go down in a Game 7.
Definitely.
If they really go down, I don't know what the Clippers do. I think you just got to stick it out and try again next year with the same cast. I mean, I don't know what the agents are looking like, but
I mean, who are you going to trade him for? Like, you're not going to get anything equal to his value on a trade, so you just got to put back
to what you gave away for him. I mean, they gave a ton away.
Oh yeah,
it's an unfortunate situation if they get kicked out of the first round, and I would just say biggest takeaway is, like you said, is a coming out party. this man Luka's the real deal.
Yep.
And that can take us into a team that just swept another and is led by one of our favorite players in our little friend group, and that's Kemba Walker. Young E's, I think it's your favorite player, or used to be. I know you were talking shit on him a little bit earlier. But
Crazy.
yeah, the Celtics, they swept the Sixers, the Ben Simmons-less Sixers. Joel Embiid didn't play up to his usual, playing level. Brett Brown looks like he's done. I seen Doris Burke just going off on the entire fucking Sixers organization, wanting them to blow it all up, which they probably should. A lot of bad decisions, but the Celtics, they look prime to put up a good fight against the Raptors in the next round. What do you guys think about the Celtics?
I think we need to rethink. You just said they're poised to put up a fight against the Raptors. I wouldn't even say that the Raptors are like overwhelming favorites. I think this is a mano, like equal ground opponents. The Celtics, they get lost in the buzz a little bit because we've heard about them for a few years now, and they're constantly like top 4 seed, could be a contender if things fall in the right place, but they're one of the teams this year that's had really, really good development for like 3 or 4 of their players. Obviously, Tatum and Brown have taken a step up, and they're now like bona fide stars. But they added Kemba, who is basically like 90% talent-wise of what Kyrie was for them, but with none of the baggage, none of the chemistry issues.
None of the flat earths.
No, none of the flat earth truthing, none of that. And Brad Stevens has been on one this year, dude. Obviously, Nick Nurse is coach of the year. He's the best in the league probably right now. But Brad Stevens always, like his out-of-bounds plays, his half-court sets, incredible stuff. And really losing Horford and losing Kyrie, I don't know how, but they've somehow found their identity in that. And they really play a brand of positionless basketball that's very well suited specifically to the Raptors, because the Raptors almost kind of do the same type of deal, although they do have more traditional big men like Gasol and Serge Ibaka. So really, I have this peg. Like, if you're a basketball fan, you need to watch this series because it's probably going to be the best basketball that you see in this entire playoffs is going to be Brad Stevens and the Celtics versus Nick Nurse and the Raptors. So I highly, highly recommend everybody to watch this series, and I think it's going to 7. And even though I just espouse love for the Celtics, I do think the Raptors are still going to take it in 7.
Okay. I respect you, Young. You got anything to say about your boy Kemba?
I love Kemba. I've always been a Celtics hater growing up because when I was young, I was a Kobe fan. So, couldn't have love for the Celtics. But, I hope they succeed. I like their team. I like Jason Tatum. I like what they're bringing to the table. I like that they had some stars walk away this season and they've still found a way to succeed. I like that we've been talking about their young guys potentially being good for 3 or 4 years, and this year their young guys really took that big step forward that everybody expected and became the all-stars that they should be. So I do think this series is going to go to 7 as well. It's definitely one I'm going to be tuning into. I know it's going to be some good basketball. So we'll just see what happens. I think that final game will be a toss-up, and it'll come down to, contributions from maybe a couple small guys, backup guys that, aren't normally making the big plays.
Definitely. And I think, of course, like you said, adding the dynamic 90% talent of Kyrie with Kemba, who is going to be probably a little bit of a better teammate, be willing to pass the ball a little bit more, and just be more thankful about the fact that he's on a good team and not on the fucking Hornets.
Yeah.
And then I think, too, just being able to allow Jason Tatum to be who he is and let him take over the team like how he was expected to. And then just what else they got in the cast with coaching. They're a really solid team that play basketball the right way, and they have huge superstar potential. They'll be definitely a top 4 team for the next 5 years, just with the young talent they have.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics are always fucking good, man. I'm really getting tired of it.
Danny Ainge is a great GM.
Like basketball gods, I see what you do for other organizations. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, why does racist ass Boston get great sports teams, huh? What did they do to deserve that? Throw some love to Sacramento, man.
How many chips the Celtics got? Like 15?
I think it's like 18, 17.
18.
They're number one in the league.
And then 6 chips with football. It's really not fair. And then the Red Sox, bro. Oh my goodness.
Well, they're in the Bruins too, right? The hockey team. Aren't they really good usually?
Yep.
Jesus Christ, man.
Fuck Boston sports. But yeah, the Celtics really exciting. I did have I will say I kind of lost a little bit of hope in them just because I felt like they underperformed after playing very well against LeBron and the Cavs when I think we were in Vegas at the time.
Yeah.
Watching. That was 2018.
Yep. It
Yeah,
was a good series.
Yeah. So I've kind of lost hope in them because they kind of underperformed after that, and I thought they had the potential to really go to the finals, but looks like they're heading back up there, and it's going to be a really good series. I'm excited for the second round and specifically for the Raptors and the Celtics. It's going to be, like you said, it's probably going to be the best matchup in the East for sure.
Hey, the Bucks are in for a world of hurt when they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, man. Whether it's the Celtics or the Raptors, I mean, that's not a pushover team by any means. They're going to really have to fight.
Hey, don't discount the Heat, though.
I love the Heat. It sucks that they have to play the Bucks, but I'm not seeing that finals pick from Young E being the Heat. I'm just not there on them yet.
Let's go, Crown Boy.
Crown Boy Ethan, back at it again.
You just made him upset with that Heat comment.
Nah, I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup for sure. I think one thing that helps them is I think Bam is athletic enough to play some sort of defense on Giannis where most team, when Giannis goes up against them, they just don't have a fucking answer because it's like there might be 5 total guys.
They're like, could help me.
Exactly.
I need water. Help me.
But there's like 5 guys in the whole league that maybe can really D up Giannis, and the Heat have one of them. So I think that benefits them for sure.
Yeah, and they just play good basketball all the time, every year. Spoelstra's a great coach, so that's part of it for sure.
I will say though, I mean, this can kind of just be a part of our second round preview that we were going to do. I think the Bucks will go by the Heat, and it's going to be hard for me to say that the Raptors are going to get beat by the Celtics. They obliterated the Nets. I know that they were supposed to do that, but like they won it by 30 today.
Yeah. And 150.
Insane. And I think that if one team will beat the Bucks, I think it will be the Raptors. They were able to handle him so well last year. I know they don't have Kawhi anymore.
Right.
But Nick Nurse, coach of the year, I think he'll figure it out.
It's going to be a tough ask. Well, you know what's crazy about that is that last year the Bucks were up 2-0 on the Raptors, and they went to, remember, it was triple overtime for Game 3, and the Raptors barely edged them out. But then after that, the Bucks just fell apart. So we'll see what happens. But the Raptors, man, I don't even know what it is about them. They're greater than the sum of their parts. Like, they play an elevated level of basketball when the best player on their team is either Siakam or Lowry, which is just crazy to me. But, you know, that's why you got to root for them. You got to love that.
They kind of play like they have a whole country on their back.
Yeah.
I feel like they just get random contributions from random players every night. Like, they'll have Norman Powell come out and score 20 points and get 4 steals one night.
That happens.
Van Vliet will come out and put up 35 points for no fucking reason. Serge Ibaka will come out and put up 18 and 12 rebounds and get 5 blocks. Like, I mean, vintage Ibaka, it's ridiculous.
That's what happens when you have the best GM in the league and the best coach in the league at the same time. That's the type of contributions you're going to get.
And they just play so well as a collective, and because of that, not one person is being overworked. Not one person is making kind of sounds at all. You know what I mean? Bro, I love the fucking Raptors. Like, I was actually upset that Kawhi left. I really was upset about that.
That'd have been tough if he stayed. That'd be a contender once again.
Potential dynasty, in my opinion.
I don't know about all that. Kyle Lowry's getting up there in the LBs. You know what I mean?
Fucking juice, dude.
I can't say he's getting up there in the LBs. It's all going to them cheeks.
It is. But you know how it is when you're in your mid-30s and you're starting to put on the pounds, bro. You start losing some of that spark that Lowry has now. Damn, he's thick.
I know we were going to do a second round preview, but we got another close game here. With Denver is now down by, I think, it's showing that Donovan Mitchell has 39 points so far with 7 assists with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Yeah, he's putting in work. Just for the record, you guys already know it, but Donovan Mitchell, second favorite player. I fell in love with him 2 playoffs ago where he was a rookie just fucking balling out in the fucking playoffs. Like, he has that dog in him, and kind of reminds me a lot of Dame. Just doesn't have, obviously the range. I'm talking just the way they carry themselves and their leadership. So we could potentially see, the game's close right now. We don't know. We could see a 2-2 tied here.
Oh yeah.
But we could talk about, I think, if the Lakers with AD and LeBron are continue playing it, they're going to be in the second round pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You can't even say like the Thunder because they could win tomorrow, and that could be tied up 2-2.
Potentially. I don't know. They got a pretty janky dagger shot from Chris Paul to win the last one.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous, but it was hot. Right? It was hot.
Look, I mean, Chris Paul's a great shooter, but his form be pissing me off sometimes on those step backs. He brings it like all the way from the side, but hey, I coach the results, right? It works.
So I mean, we could do second round preview in the West, but I don't know. It's still hotly contested. Like, we can't.
Yeah, we can just run through the rest of the series, just to give an idea. I mean, I have the Lakers comfortably taking the Blazers the rest of the way. Yeah. I think the Blazers are they're playing at 100% every game, which I really respect, but they're going to start hitting the wall real soon, and they kind of already have. Like we talked about in the last pod, LeBron can turn it on when he wants to, and he did in the last game, and he will if he needs to again. AD's completely unguardable. You have no answer for him. And the Blazers have 2 really good big men, and it doesn't matter at all. They both either are in foul trouble or they get played off the court. So I have the Lakers taking that. The Thunder obviously played really good, came back against the Rockets. I think with the Rockets, it's going to be cyclical. They're going to win 2 games, and they're going to shoot really well. They're going to have an off shooting night, and they're going to lose a game here and there. I'm going to have the Rockets still taking that. As far as the Jazz and Nuggets go, I pounded the table about this being my upset pick. I'm still standing by it because I will let you know that right now the Nuggets are in a close game, but Jamal Murray once again has to score 40-plus points for it to be a conversation.
Oh, my goodness, 45 points.
And look, I'm going to say it. Jamal Murray, he's on his way to being a star. If he keeps playing like this, he was right there. He had the talent, and he's really showing me something this playoffs. But overall, I still think the Jazz are going to upset. I think they have the best player on the floor, arguably, with Donovan Mitchell, just because Gobert is going to neutralize Jokic. So I got them going to the second round. And then, like I said earlier, I still got the Clippers going forward. So I'm looking at a Lakers-Rockets matchup in round 2, and then a Clippers and Jazz matchup, which honestly, pretty boring compared to the East, if you ask me. I think I'm definitely going to be enjoying the Eastern Conference second round more.
So you think that it's going to be pretty easy for both the Lakers and the Clippers?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the Jazz, they're one of those teams where like they're good, but you look at them and there's nothing there that really pops to you that makes you think like, yeah, they're going to upset a contender. They're like a perennial second round team to me. If they had Bogdanovich, it'd be a different story, but he's obviously out. But yeah, I'm going to have the Clippers going through, and boringly, I'm going to have the Lakers going through against the Rockets as well. Unless Russ comes back and does something stupid, like something real special, then that could change things. But yeah, I have Lakers and Clippers in the West, and that's really what I want to see because those are the 2 best teams in the conference by far.
Do you guys think that the Jazz are better than the Mavs? And that they will put up a better fight against the Clippers like the Mavs are? Or no? I
think the Mavs are playing the Clippers better, and I think it's because, one, Rick Carlisle is a better coach than Quinn Snyder. And that's no disrespect to Quinn Snyder. He's really good. But Rick Carlisle is like a top 5 coach that doesn't really get talked about as much as he should on that note. Yeah, he's got a chip, a really hard-fought chip. And then they have
the biggest upset chips of all time.
Yes, easily, by far. For the boy Dirk.
That's just fire, bro.
But yeah, no, I think the Mavs just play the Clippers better because I think they have a better player. They have LUKA, so that's just going to change things, obviously. What just happened? What was that reaction?
Donovan Mitchell just hit a 3. They were up 119, 118, and there's 50 seconds left. And he
So it's a
just hit
dagger.
yeah,
So
there's still
it's more
50 seconds
game?
left, but fuck. Yeah, Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, they're going back and forth again.
Man, I mean that I'm gonna use that as a jumping off point for this. How good is the NBA and the talent level of the NBA now, where a guy like Donovan Mitchell is probably top 20 in the league? Like he's probably the 19th or 18th best player in the league. Like you know how good the league has to be for something like that to happen? Go 20 years in the past or even 20 years in the future, I bet he'd be a top 10, top 5 player.
Yeah. I would say that there was a span for a while where it was a little dry. Like we had the same superstars really be top notch for a long time.
Definitely.
And now we have some young talent in there, and it's just making me fucking juiced.
Oh yeah.
And
he has 46 right now. Like, come on, man. Jesus.
The East is finally coming together, it looks like, too.
Definitely. Yeah.
But it's great, man. I feel like I don't know, like with the Wolves getting the number 1 pick again, like I just feel like West teams always be getting those superstar high picks.
A little bit, yeah, but they're gonna have to hit on the pick. If they miss, it's gonna be bad.
That ass. Youngie, you got anything to say about the second round and what you're expecting forward going on with the NBA playoffs?
I'm excited for the East. I think Phil hit the West picks on the money. I don't really see any upsets in the second round. Not really excited for the Western Conference until the finals, but we'll see.
I'm just so happy that we don't have to see the Rockets and Jazz play each other in a series again. Those were some of the worst playoff series I've ever watched, bro. Just horrible basketball.
Is there any news on when Russell Westbrook is going to come back?
I haven't heard anything, no, but I know the timetable was late in the first round. So I think if they're in trouble, they'll try to rush him back, and if they're not in trouble, they'll just let him sit until the second round.
I think the Lakers got a little fortunate, too, that the first 2 rounds they'll be playing teams that are their best 2 players are guards.
Is that luck, though? Because that's not a good matchup for them. They don't have good guards.
Well, it's just that there's no one to defend. It's either they have someone to defend AD, but no one to defend LeBron, or you have someone that could maybe slow down LeBron, but definitely nobody that could defend AD. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall, the Rockets don't even have anybody that can guard LeBron. So
exactly,
forget about AD.
I mean, I agree. These are probably the best 2 matchups the Lakers could have pulled.
Yeah,
in the first 2 rounds for them. The teams just match up well because of AD.
Except for the fact that they got the Blazers in the 8 seed. If they got the Grizzlies or the Suns, it would have been a sweep probably. But other than that, yeah, out of the 8 teams, they did get the 2 best.
No, I'm not accepting any more fucking Phoenix Sun slander. They would have swept the fucking Lakers.
Okay, chill out.
Stop the cap.
12-0. 12-0.
Who's going to guard AD? Aaron Baines?
Devin Booker's going to score 60 a night.
Doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter.
Ricky Rubio against Rondo at this point in his career? I'd barf, bro. I'd barf.
Bro, Rondo can't even get on the court.
He's probably going to be back next game.
Yeah, he
was
will.
Supposed to play game 3. I am not looking forward to that, bro. They're so much better with Caruso.
Are you a believer in the existence of playoff Rondo?
Yes, 100%. 2 reasons. 1, he's a champion. 2, I've seen it happen like 4 times where he was complete ass in the regular season, and then he goes in the playoffs and he's all of a sudden like a top 3 player on his team. It happened with the Pelicans when they swept the Blazers. It happened with the Bulls where you guys took the 1 seed to 7 games in the first round. And the only reason you lost is because Rondo got hurt, by the way. The only reason you guys lost is because Rondo got hurt in game 5. You guys really would have went and beat the 1 seed Celtics with D Wade, Jimmy Butler, and Rondo. And I would have been so fucking mad.
So yes, would have been hot.
I do believe in playoff Rondo, but I think Rondo is like literally in one of his last few years because he's looking real bad these days.
I would have really liked the Lakers to meet up with the Thunder in the second round, so we could have Chris Paul versus Rondo.
Bro, the fades would be amazing. Rondo would just be baiting him the whole time because he knows that he can get suspended and it's not a big deal. But if Chris Paul gets suspended, that's a death knell.
Yeah, that's for real. All right, that's good, man. I'm just excited about basketball.
Yep.
This is I don't know. I'm gonna remember this playoffs for a long time, not just because it's the bubble, but because it is the bubble. Everything's so neutral. All these, there's players that are standing out that have never done much before in their career, and then we have players that are superstars doing above and beyond of what they usually do, and
it's exceeded all expectations for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say too, it would have been nice to see maybe like the crowd be there when LUKA hit that shot.
Yeah,
but I've kind of forgotten that there's no fans anymore. Like it's kind of just normal to me now. It's not too big of a deal.
It's worth it to just have basketball,
Yeah, definitely. And that can lead us into our next topic, probably the biggest news coming out of the NFL this past weekend. Used to be a member of the Legion of Boom, on Young E's favorite team, Earl, man. What's going on with Earl, Young E? I know you talked to him over the phone. What happened with him, bro?
So, man, just as far as, once more reports started coming out and, we kind of got more information about what was going on with the team. And, there was rumors going around that the players had met and told management that, they wanted him out. Apparently over the past year that he's been there, he's been late to meetings quite a bit. He's had, multiple. This is not his first serious incident with the teammate. Not saying it was his fault at all in the off season, but he had the incident with his wife, which or ex-wife, which definitely, like I said, not his fault, but it definitely brings some negative attention to the team. So, for the Ravens, I don't think it hurts the Ravens. I'm not too worried about it. We're pretty deep at the safety position. It's not like we're hurting on the defense by any means or in the secondary. He didn't perform all that great last year. We saw him get mixed up in the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about it. We're saving a lot of money. It sucks that he got a $20 million signing bonus last year when we tried to lure him away from the Chiefs. But, to cut out that 10 to 20 mil of salary the next 2 years on, personal conduct that's a win for me. And I think it should be a win for him too, because he's going to get out of that situation and, he'll get to go play for another contender, I'm sure. And he'll get a friendly contract, I'm sure as well. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. It sucks that it happened. But, once everything happened, I think everybody parted ways pretty respectfully.
What team do you see him going to?
Right now, I see the two leading teams both being in the NFC East as the Eagles and the Cowboys. They've got the money. They've definitely got the need. And I think, honestly, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but I think whichever of those two teams lands him is the team that wins the division. And it comes down to that.
Okay. Wow. You think so even though he didn't make that big of an impact on the Ravens, you think he'll make that big of an impact on an NFC East team?
I mean, I don't think that he didn't make that big of an impact. I think that his impact was maybe overshadowed by the rest of the defense and how well they played, and the rest of the secondary and how well they played. And, it's not like he wasn't good. He just wasn't his normal self. He wasn't up to that Legion of Boom level. He still is performing at a, Pro Bowl, fringe Pro Bowl safety level. So I definitely think on a team that is desperately hurting for defense like the Eagles and the Cowboys are, it is a big improvement, and it would really help one of those teams win a division.
Right.
What do you think about the Earl Thomas situation, filling up the piss?
I think Ethan hit it on the head. I think it works out for both sides. Earl Thomas, from what I've heard, he didn't play up to his usual level last year or his past prime standard. And I know he was getting paid a lot of money. So I think for the Ravens, this could be an addition by subtraction thing where you get, X amount of his performance for half or less of the cost. Also too, I know football is a physical sport. I know it's a very toxic locker room type of sport, but I just don't see how you can have your teammates punching each other in the face and going forth and winning a championship together, I mean,
and same position group too. It was his other starting safety. Like that's
Right.
where the issue really becomes a problem.
That's just not conducive to winning football or winning in any sport or in any team-based setting. So, I think they did what they had to do. And that's not a knock on Earl Thomas. He's still great. He'll be fine. I think he, honestly, in his heart, I think he's wanted to go to the Cowboys for a few years now. I mean, that's not even me speculating. He said that on camera. So, you can quote him. And to answer the second part of the question, I think he's going to go to the Cowboys. I think Jerry Jones, despite any negatives I can say about him, he gets deals done. That's his thing. I think he's going to be there probably by next Sunday in time for week 1. So I think that's going to give the Cowboys a huge leg up. Depending on I don't know how it works when you cut somebody like that, if he's still entitled to his salary, if it doesn't affect the Ravens cap or what's going on, but I can see him going to the Cowboys for under market deal or a minimum deal, maybe, depending on how the rest of his pay is sorted. And I think the Cowboys, we'll touch on this later, but to loop this into the Cowboys, man, I'm a big fan of them this year. I think they had one of the best rosters in the league last year and this year. And I think the biggest difference for them is going from Jason Garrett to someone who's not Jason Garrett. I don't care if you don't like Mike McCarthy, just the fact that he's not Jason Garrett, I think is going to make a huge difference. But I'll save a little bit of that for later.
Yeah, I could definitely see, him going to one of those teams. I think it's more likely going to be the Cowboys because, like you guys said, he's made it very clear that he's wanted to go there. I'm just really wondering if that other safety brought up Derrick Henry at all. That was just one of my favorite moments of last year because that boy Earl Thomas was talking shit before the game. He was. I think he said something along the lines of, "Why don't people just go up and tackle him?" Motherfucker, you didn't even do that shit. You got a whole ass hand in your back. So that was a crazy play. I enjoyed that play because of the shit talking.
Ethan's not liking this segment.
But Youngie, I did want to ask you because it kind of does relate to this. That people were saying on Twitter that because they were so swift and did not tolerate this kind of behavior from Earl Thomas, does this kind of show that they're not going to get AB at all?
I mean, to me, it shows that they're not going to deal with the nonsense if they do. I think it shows to both AB and Dez, who they've both brought in and they've had their issues. I think it shows to them, look, we're not going to tolerate this. We don't care what amount of money we gave you. If you're going to be an issue in our locker room, you're not going to be here. And I think it kind of sets that precedent for the whole team, which is good because they do have a tight locker room. And, I think upholding that is it's worth more than the talent loss. I think Phil made a good point with, you're getting X percent of production from, how much less salary. Well, when you look at the numbers, Earl was on a 4-year, $55 million deal that started last year. So with what happened, the Ravens only take a $5 million cap hit because of the personal conduct rather than the 15 he would take, which opens money for elsewhere. But then the 4 safeties that, are the 4 other safeties that are back there, 3 of them are on rookie contracts. And, one of them's on a vet minimum. So, the amount of money saved is a legit, 10 to 15 mil. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm happy that it happened, and I'm happy that the Ravens are prioritizing having that good locker room chemistry. Because with all those young guys, you have a team that most of the guys are under 25. Upholding that locker room chemistry is super important.
Definitely. I totally agree. I think it was, if, it's all true that he was missing meetings and all that, especially coming from a veteran, you don't want to set that example. So I'm glad that they moved swiftly with that and really showed that, this is what the Ravens are about. And we're not going to, allow someone else who's at our, top of the roster is going to change that. So I appreciated that. I just wanted to mention real quick that Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell both just put up 50 points.
Ridiculous.
That's different, man.
And the Jazz did get the win, so they're now up 3-1. The score was 129 to 127. Great game. Man, I love Donovan Mitchell. That man's crazy.
It's ridiculous, man. Another guy the Kings really wanted and were high on and didn't draft. I'll bring it up again. had the 10th pick. He was available, but Vlade didn't want to pair him with Fox because he didn't want to mess with the flow of the game. So instead, we got Justin Jackson and Harry Giles and Frank Mason.
I really hope the next GM just goes like, fuck trying to fit people in into what we're doing.
Yeah, just go best available.
Yeah, best available every fucking time.
That's how it should be.
I feel like you should do that in the NBA period.
Yeah.
You can make it work if you got enough talent on your team.
Yeah, but then you end up with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there,
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to talking about our own teams, just because that's who we're following and that's who we're seeing through training camp and the matchups and the surprising players we're all hyped for. My team is the Miami Dolphins, unfortunately, and then we got number 43 runner-ups. That's the 49ers. That's Philanthropist's team.
Give me a break.
And then we have the Ravens. Of course, that's Young E's team. I'll go ahead and just go first, talking a little bit about the Dolphins and what I'm expecting from them. It's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick starting. I didn't really expect Tua to start yet, especially with no preseason, shortened off season. And, of course, he's coming back from a really terrible injury that could have been potentially career-ending. But he looks like he's doing well, but I think it's fair, and especially with how well Ryan Fitzpatrick played towards the end of the year, give him another chance. And if he's asked, then throw in Tua, and I'm fine with that. But my breakout star for the Dolphins this year is going to be Preston Williams, wide receiver. He was actually undrafted and played fairly well with us last year, but got injured halfway through the season and missed the rest of the season. And if he's gonna be healthy this whole season and he plays as well as he did last year, and a couple of those games I don't believe Devontae Parker played either, that he did play in. So if the both of them are out there with one forgotten person a lot is Jakeem Grant. He's like 5'7", one of the fastest guys in the NFL. He's on the Dolphins. He's going to be playing the slot, I think. Just that offense, I think it's going to be a lot. It's going to be improved a lot, especially with the offensive line and the draft picks that they've done. They got a left tackle. They got a couple guards. And the defense, of course, is going to come together. Byron Jones and Kyle Van Noy. I like those pickups to go along with Xavier Howard. I just think that this Dolphins team, just from what I've seen, they look of course, they look better than they did last year. Last year, that roster was horrendous. We talked about how they had the most turnover in NFL history during one season. But it looks like they found a couple gems, especially in Preston Williams being an undrafted receiver. He looked very solid last year. I'm just excited. This is probably the most excited I've been in years. I can't even remember the last time I was this excited because, maybe like the year they went to the playoffs and won the division with Wildcat, but even that was so unexpected. I wasn't really excited for that season. But yeah, the Dolphins, I think, will surprise people this year. I think they can contend for the wild card. I don't think they're going to win the division. But, yeah, my biggest surprise for them, keep an eye out, my man Preston Williams. Young E, I'll let you go ahead and go first since me and Philip kind of going back and forth with basketball a lot, so I'll give you some time here. What do you think about the Ravens this next season, and who's going to be your surprise player?
We talked about it a little bit last week. I'm pretty high on the Ravens. I think there's a lot of potential there for a lot of star power and a lot of second-year players to really improve. I think Earl Thomas's exit kind of opens the door. We had Chuck Clark playing the other safety position, who got in a fight with Earl Thomas, but he has been a star in the making the last couple of years. I think he was drafted 2 years ago. He was a late-round pick. I know he came in last year. I'm pretty sure for a while he was calling the plays for the defense. For a young guy like that, that's a really big deal. But, I see a lot coming out of him. Deshaun Elliott is our backup and who they expect to fill Earl Thomas's role. He was a 6th-round pick last year. He's had his injury problems, but I think he has potential. But the guy I really like to fill that role is Geno Stone. He was a 7th-round pick this year out of Iowa. I had a lot of people higher on him on the big board from what I, looked around on ESPN and stuff. A lot of people had him a fourth, fifth round pick. I think he's got huge talent and, ability to come in and make the difference. So, we'll see if he can fill that role. On the offensive side, I think, there's a ton of guys that are going to take a big step forward this year. 2 second-year wide receivers, Miles Boykin. I've seen a lot of good things coming out of camp from him, really filling that role as a possession receiver. A lot of reasons I saw for Dez not getting that immediate deal when he left Baltimore was because of Miles Boykin's ability in camp this year and just kind of him showing out as that possession receiver the Ravens need. Marquise Brown put on 20 pounds of muscle this offseason, and I've still been seeing him burn people off the line, and he's fully healthy this year. So I'm really excited to see what he can bring to the table. I think he has a little bit stronger Tyreek Hill. That's kind of what he reminds me of. But, I think he kind of has that A-B play style in him, and I think he has that dog in him too. So, we're going to really get to see what he brings to the table. And then J.K. Dobbins, he was a steal late in the second round. He's been good in camp. But my big standout this year, it's weird. I don't think I've ever done this before, but I'm going offensive line. We signed DJ Fluker from the Seahawks this year. In the offseason, that guard position was kind of a toss-up after Marshall Yonder retired. DJ Fluker really took it upon himself to start taking the game a lot more serious when he came to Baltimore. I've heard he's lost over 40 pounds and just put, a ton of muscle on. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. I think he's going to win that starting right guard position, and I think he's going to ball out this year. But I know it's competitive. I know there's like 3-4 guys competing for it, so we'll see what happens. But that's my standout for the year. As far as the rest of training camp goes, I'm just interested to see if they make a move with this money that they get from Earl leaving. It opens up some cap space. I know, Yannick's on the market. I know Clowney hasn't been signed and might be looking for a 1-year deal, so there's a possibility for that. There's also a possibility they hold on to the money and use it to get that extension for Ronnie Stanley and get that extension for Marlon Humphrey going. And I wouldn't be, upset about that either. Those are both great moves. So we'll just see what they do. I think that's going to be the thing to watch for the rest of training camp is just what they're going to do with that money. Do they invest in the extensions or do they invest in a rental player for the 1 year to, really make the run for the Super Bowl this year?
I have one question about Lamar Jackson. In your eyes, is it more likely that he has more passing yards this season compared to last season, or does he have more rushing yards?
Oh, I think he'll definitely have more passing yards this season. I think just as he gets older, we're obviously going to see him kind of move to an in-the-pocket quarterback. You can't be out there running around like that forever. Ooh, sorry. And I know right now he's a little banged up. I don't know how serious it is. But I know I've read that he has a little pulled groin, and they're kind of taking precautions and just having him sit a couple practices. So we'll see how that plays out. But, I think he's definitely going to have some more passing yards. But like my hot take, I said last week, he's going to have more rushing yards as well. I think Lamar just does a little bit of both this year. I think he might put up another 50 to 100 rushing yards. And I think he definitely, can put up another 200 to 300 passing yards. But really, what I noticed last year, what it came down to was there would be times in most games where by the third quarter we were kind of done, and it was just handing the ball off from there. And whether at that point he had 185 passing yards or 200 passing yards, that was just going to be that. And then he also didn't play the last game of the season, and then sat 4 quarters throughout the season, so that's 2 full games not played. And then counting those running quarters, we'll see. If the games are more competitive this year, I could definitely see his stats, ballooning out.
But if you had to choose, you would say more passing than...
Definitely.
Okay, cool. So, Philanthropist, tell us a little bit about what you've been hearing about 49ers during this training camp.
Yeah, man, the 49ers, it's mostly business as usual, just chugging along. Not really any huge stories other than some injury bugs that we've been bit by. I know D Ford has gotten hurt. Brandon Ayuk has gotten hurt as well. Some standouts from camp. Apparently, Trent Williams has just been a monster. And then on the flip side of that too, Trent Williams has come out and said that Nick Bosa looks like a monster and a potential Hall of Famer. So that's going to be interesting to see. I know Trent Williams is going to be a huge addition to our offense, especially after losing Joe Staley to retirement. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. As far as like little sleeper picks or players to watch, I'm really, really interested to see if Tavon Austin is going to make the roster this year. Kyle Shanahan has a really long track history of having a lot of success with some gadget wide receivers. Think of like Taylor Gabriel in Atlanta, or kind of what happened with Kendrick Bourne last year. Although Bourne now has taken a step up and he's probably going to actually be a 1 or a 2. So that'll be interesting to see. On the defensive end, obviously we got Javon Kinlaw, who you got to keep your eyes on. But I'm also really interested in seeing if Emmanuel Mosley can follow up his breakout year last year and really cement himself as a starting corner and on the opposite end of Sherman on that side of the field. But overall, man, the biggest question mark I have with the Niners is the receiving core. So I really hope Ayuk pans out. I hope Debo can come back in time. And then between Kendrick Bourne, Trent Taylor, Tavon, maybe even Dante Pettis, hopefully we can get some solid production out of that group.
And I'll ask kind of a similar question that I asked about Lamar. Do you see improvements in the numbers, in the stats, and possibly in the win column with Jimmy G?
I'm going to say yes, because I'm an optimist and I'm also a homer.
Okay.
But there's definitely question marks with Jimmy G. He's going to have to come out and prove it this year. And, I don't see like a follow-up middling performance. I either see him really excelling or really not excelling and then having us hit the reset button at QB. But, I'm going to take out of what I've seen from Jimmy G so far that, he's winning. He's putting forth, like if he passes the eye test, like he makes some really good throws. He also makes some really bad throws. So we'll see. I think he has all the weapons he needs. Obviously, you'd hope for a little bit more at the receiver position, but he has the best tight end in the game. He has the best running game in the game. So, he has what he needs to succeed, and I need to see Shanahan open up the offense a little bit more and let him throw the ball a little bit more this year. That's what I'm hoping for.
Definitely. The Niners, they're stacked. They have a lot of depth too. And
what do you got to say, Ethan?
I don't know about best run game. I'm just saying, like
he's talking about his Ravens.
We definitely broke the record last year, and it was by a lot. So I'll just leave that at that.
Okay.
I mean, it helps to we have a running quarterback, and yes, he's going to put up 1,200 a year, and that helps. But we also have 3 solid running backs.
Okay. Best running game in the NFC. Is that better?
Okay, that's fair. And I would definitely say, like, I'm not saying the Ravens are like better or substantially better. I think it's just very much arguable. I wouldn't say it's far and above the Niners or far.
Yeah, I was sleeping. I'll give it to the Ravens, but we do have this monster called Kyle Juszczyk, a throw to days of football long gone.
Ex Raven too. Ex Raven.
Mm-hmm. And he brings a whole nother dimension to that running game, man. When he hits the hole, ooh, it feels good.
I heard they're lining him up at tight end too.
I'm telling you, man, if you guys are playing Madden, it's been in the Niners playbook forever. There's this screenplay called the fullback screen. It's in the I formation. The fullback is lined up to the right. No one sees a fullback screen coming, but because it's Juszczyk, he has really good running stats. Dump it off to him, man. It's a W.
Time.
It's a W
every time.
Mm-hmm.
Big old tub.
Oh yeah.
All right. Good little check in there with our teams. We got to respect the fandom, and we're going to be unapologetic with our love for our teams. That's the couch way. We can go ahead and move on to our next little segment that we got here, and that is our NFL playoff predictions. We haven't formulated any kind of, bracket with which team we think will be the seeds, or what teams will rank in the wild card seeding and all that. But we're going to go ahead and give you who we believe are going to win the division and who the 3 wild card teams will be. And it's going to be just a different playoff from that standpoint. We're going to have 3 wild card teams with 1 team with a bye. So that'll change the playoffs a lot. Young E? why don't you lead us off here? Who do you think? We'll take it division at a time. Who do you think is going to win the AFC East?
The AFC East this year, I have the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to be one of the lower seeds of the teams that win the divisions. But I can already see Phil's anger. I already know it's coming. But I just think their roster's too good. Even if Josh Allen, isn't fantastic, I think their roster's the best in the division. And, I think they're going to win. But it's going to be a competitive division for sure.
And Philanthropist, who is your pick to win this for the first time? Way better even playing field here in the AFC East.
For the AFC East, I am picking the Miami Dolphins to win the division.
All right, and why is that?
I'm not kidding. You know why? Because I love to hate on the Buffalo Bills. I'm telling you right now that you can have a great coach, you can have a great defense, you can have new weapons on offense, but if your quarterback sucks, it's not going to work. And I'm making a bet on the Dolphins turning it around this year. I'm making a bet that Tua is going to start by week 6, and I'm making a bet that Tua is going to be a great quarterback in this league. You combine that with Brian Flores and all the good we saw with him last year and all these fresh new draft picks, the young talent you've been assembling, I think they're going to make a breakthrough. I think the division is wide open more than it's ever been before, and I think you're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Wow. Okay. Are you willing to bet that with Casino Jones?
That would depend on the terms of the deal because I am not banging the table about this one. It's definitely there's a lot of risk involved. If you're giving me like minus 250 odds, yeah, I'll put some money on it. But if it's even or like plus 100, I'm definitely not taking that.
Okay. My pick for the AFC East is, I will say I'm very undecided about this one, but I am going to give the edge to the Bills. That's just because yes, I'm not that confident in Josh Allen, but I'm very confident in Sean McDermott, and I'm very confident in their defense. And, their offense, they have a very solid running game. They have a good offensive line. And Josh Allen, I think, has the talent, the natural physical talent to make it work. But I will say I have them barely edging out the Patriots, and even that I'm very iffy on. So the way I'm looking at it is it's either the Bills or the Patriots going to win the division, but Bills, whatever one doesn't win the division, that other team will not make the wild card. I think one of the teams will have a bad year.
Wow.
So that's my prediction.
Are we all sleeping on Adam Gase and Sam Darnold right now?
Stop it.
I need water.
That's Adam Gase every time he does a fucking press conference and
the
his
number
head
one pick.
explode out of his goddamn head.
All right.
Let's move on now to the AFC West. I'll go ahead and just give my pick for this one. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They got my homeboy. They got Tyreek Hill. They got Travis Kelce. They got the Honey Badger. They got the defense that may not be the best in the NFL, but it's going to work well, especially when you're having high-powered offense that's going to be putting up a lot of yards. You're not going to be put into a lot of terrible positions. Your team's usually going to start on the, you're not going to ever be starting drives defensively at midfield or even on your side of the field. So that helps them, benefits them. And I just love Andy Reid. He's probably my favorite coach in the NFL. I got a lot of hope in him. I just don't think they're going to get dethroned from the AFC West title. Philanthropist, what do you think about the AFC West?
I got the Chiefs as well, and I don't have really anything fresh or original to say. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. Super Bowl champs, Pat Mahomes. That's all I really got.
I got nothing to say. Let's move on to the next division.
That's an easy one.
We know who's winning the AFC East, bro. Like it's
West.
Unless someone gets AFC West. Sorry, unless someone gets hurt, it's a lock. So let's just move on.
Gosh, that hurts you so much. And AFC North, Philanthropist, who do you got winning that?
I got the Browns winning it, man. Nah, I'm playing. Same thing, same thing here. Same thing as with the AFC West. It's going to be the Ravens, barring injury. Let's not spend too much time on it. Ethan, keep that same energy. Don't be saying extra words about the Ravens that you didn't say about the Chiefs. All right? It's Ravens, Ravens, Ravens. We all know it.
Yeah.
Young,
Nothing to say.
you got Ravens, right?
All right.
Nothing to say. One of the best teams in the NFL.
Yes, I have the same as well. I think Ravens are going to win the division, and it's not even going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just talking about that running game, nasty, and you throw in, Lamar Jackson's improving ability to throw the ball down the field, and of course that defense is nasty, and of course they have one of the best coaches in the NFL. It's just not going to be close, in my opinion.
I will say I need more Heisman sets this year, Ethan.
Hey, hold up. I don't want to hear us sleeping on Greg Roman right now.
Nope, I'm
We got
super
a
sleep.
high-level offensive coordinator, too.
I'm pillow, blanket,
High-level
comforter, top
offensive
sheet, everything.
coordinator.
I'm sleep on Greg Roman.
Nah, but
I'm slumped.
we're done with the Ravens, bro. They're winning the
I
division.
will say, if there is a division that would have like a really surprising division winner, it could be the AFC North.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just saying, like, in the AFC, because I just don't see the Chiefs really losing it.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the other two are toss-ups, so like they're not runaways, so it wouldn't be surprising.
yeah. But yeah, Ravens, Super Bowl contenders, just don't see them losing this one. Young, who do you got for the AFC South?
This was a close one, and I think there is 3 teams in contention here, and I think one team who wins the division, and then the other 2 teams don't make it, and I think the team that wins the division is the Tennessee Titans. I think they're the best coach team in the division, and all respect to Frank Reich. He's a fantastic coach, but, I love what I saw Vrabel bring last year. He brings an energy to the field, and he's still young. So, like, I heard last year that, potentially he might have padded up with some players 1 or 2 practices. And that's just something, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that. So,
Coach Moore can do that at 70.
So I love the Titans. I love what they bring. I hate that they knocked us out last year. But, I think Derrick Henry continues his tear. I think the offensive line is good. I think A.J. Brown is a superstar in the making. We'll get to him in one of our later episodes about fantasy football, but that's definitely one of my guys. And then I think they do all the things right on the defensive side of the ball. And Logan Ryan is still there. I just want to say that he hasn't been signed yet. There's potential they could still bring him back, so we'll see.
Okay.
Oof, that
Flint,
crown
Chris,
has
you
hit
got-
me.
Man, okay, this division is just I don't want to say it disgusts me, but it definitely puts a bad
Yes.
taste in my mouth. I love the Colts. I'm a huge Colts believer, but with so much uncertainty at quarterback, me and Young E were talking. We think they gave up on Brissett a little bit too early. And with that back and forth and with the lack of depth at receiver, I can't pick them. The Texans have the best player in the entire division with Watson, but that team is a mess, and Bill O'Brien needs to go yesterday. So by default, and because the Jaguars are going to be a non-factor, they're rebuilding, I'm going to pick the Titans. I don't want to make it seem like I'm low on the Titans. I just think they overperformed all of last year. But to their credit, that's usually the sign of a really good coach in Vrabel. And if Tannehill can maintain the level of play he was at last year, they're going to be right back where they were. So I'll pick the Titans begrudgingly. I don't like it, but I'll stick with it.
Yeah, and I have the Titans as well. I don't think Tannehill is he's not one of the top quarterbacks in the league, but he has, they always say it takes a while for you to recover from an ACL injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I think towards the end of last year, despite his, subpar playoff performances, he was finally getting to that point.
Right.
And it was his first year with the Titans, so he'll have another year under his belt under that system.
Right.
I've never really been like 100% on Tannehill, but I've seen enough to know that he has what it takes to lead a team that has a good running game and a good defense.
Right.
And especially when you throw in Mike Vrabel in there, who's going to pad up and hit the fuck out of his own players. That just brings a whole different mentality. And, I just love that offensive line for Derrick Henry. I love Taylor Lewan. I talk about him all the time. He's the biggest, baddest motherfucker, goddamn, in the fucking NFL sometimes. And I don't know. I just like the Titans. They're fucking nasty. And I think that any given Sunday, they could beat any team. And they just have what it takes to play great football. And I appreciate that.
Can I just say, how many of us would believe in 2012 that Ryan Tannehill would be the last quarterback standing from that first round? That's absolutely ridiculous. That's ridiculous to me. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
But,
and I will say, too, that I think we've noticed over the last 3 to 4 years that veteran quarterbacks, they tend to get better. I won't necessarily say better stats wise, but in pivotal situations, that experience has really done so much for quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think that as Tannehill gets older, he has what it takes to become that great game manager.
Yeah,
that experience.
I mean, imagine going back to 2012 and telling yourself that Tannehill and Kirk Cousins are in 2020 the two best quarterbacks in that draft.
You would, I would say you're capping.
Bro,
Yeah.
I love Kirk Cousins coming out of Michigan State, though.
I did too, but I mean, he got drafted by the Washington team and
the RG3
had to back up RG3, and then we saw one of the most ridiculous rookie years ever, and it was just
Truly
Washington's lack of ability to get a better field and actually take care of their players that ruined him, and that sucks.
That's true.
Yep,
that's true.
And that made Cousins.
I'll go ahead and just lead off. So we can just go ahead and just name the 3 wildcard teams and then kind of give, small reasons as to why we believe they're going to be in there. I'll go ahead and lead it off just because I think that if there's one year that we're going to have a big playoff mix-up, it's this COVID year. And I'm just doing it because this is more hopeful thinking rather than me maybe saying, that this is going to happen. But I was talking about last week in our last podcast, I think the Browns are going to step it up. I think this is the year that they finally get it all together under this new coach. I hope to God that they figured out the organization and that Baker can feel comfortable. I think they slip in maybe in that last spot to become in the wild card. That offensive line, like I said, is going to be just a huge improvement, and giving him a second year with Odell, I think that's going to help them out a lot. But like we've talked about, the AFC North is going to be very tough. So we'll see. I just see them improving a lot. And then I do have the Dolphins in that wild card spot. Nice. I think they're going to fight to the end. They're going to get in.
Like it.
With everything they got. I think they get smacked in that first round if they do make it. But, it is what it is. The AFC East is wide open. I could see them sweeping the Jets, splitting games each with the Patriots and the Bills, and just surprising some teams and getting some dubs. And then my third team that I have getting in the wild card is a little bit of a sleeper, and that is the Raiders. I think when you improve the facilities, you get them into a new city, you bring a new life and a new culture to this team. And John Gruden's already been coming out with the fire under his ass. But I think now it's really time for him to step the fuck up. And he's realizing, hey, this is a great opportunity. He's one to entertain. He knows what he needs to do to get the fans on his back. And I just see that this whole new move to Vegas is going to switch things up for him. And I do like Derek Carr. I still have some hope in him. So that's also why I'm saying that as well. So, philanthropist, I'm going to let you go last, Young E, because I'm sure you're going to have some strong opinions about your wild card team. So, philanthropist, who do you got going in the wild card?
I have some out there picks too. These were some tough calls, but the 3 I have is the Broncos, the Browns, and the Patriots. So starting off with the Broncos, we've talked about this in our preview of the division, but they have a really, really good roster. If Drew Lock hits, I think they're going to be a lock. No pun intended. And then I'm also a huge fan of Vic Fangio from his days as the Niners defensive coordinator. So I think the Broncos are the safest pick I have here. For the Browns, this really goes by the fact that I think they have a really deep and talented roster, and I really like their head coach pick. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not going to try, but the guy who was the OC for the Vikings. I really like their roster.
Stefanski.
I like their coach, Stefanski. Okay, there you go. So I like their roster, like their coach. I think they're gonna be the second best team in the AFC North. I have them over the Steelers, as I mentioned before. And then lastly, I have the Patriots. I think Bill Belichick is the master of doing more with less. I don't think it matters who he loses on his team. He has an eye for talent. He has an eye for utilizing people in the right places. And I'm going to bang the table about this. I think what's happened to Cam Newton has been ridiculous. It's been absolutely ridiculous. I think he is still the same player he was before. He had some reoccurring injury problems, just the same that Andrew Luck did, when Andrew Luck had to take almost 2 years off. Then he came back and had a comeback player of the year season, top 5 MVP voting season. I think Cam Newton, especially with a mind like Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, is going to easily have them in playoff contention, barring any reoccurring injury issues. You know, if his shoulder's fine, I think it's going to be an easy lock. I will say that teams that I had in consideration that just missed it, the Steelers, number 1, and then the Raiders at number 2, based off the same things you were saying, Jordan. So those two are going to also be right there.
Cool. I'm cool with that. Young E, what you think about the wild card?
I think you guys are, correct in all ways. All these teams are going to be really close. I think we're going to see 3 wild card teams and, 4 people in the hunt all within 2 games. I think it's going to be really close one of those years.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, my 3 wild card teams, I have the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Broncos. Like Phil said, we've talked about the Broncos before. Their roster is just really good. And, I'm big on Drew Lock. So I think, he's a good fit. And I think he has really potential to be a high-level quarterback. And then with the Steelers, I just think too well coached, too good a defense to not succeed, to not at least get that 7 seed. And, kind of same goes with the Pats. Too good a defense, too good a coach. And then you have Cam Newton, who has the biggest chip on his shoulder of his whole career. I think they're going to be right there. And they're going to be competing with the Bills, too. I think they're going to be right there. I think that 5 seed is going to be interchangeable between them and the Bills, whoever wins that last game. But like you guys said, I think the Browns are definitely going to be in contention. I think they could definitely swap with the Steelers. I think it's going to be close with them. I think the Dolphins are going to be, right there, maybe 1 game out. And I think the Raiders can compete too. I think the one thing, in my opinion, that hurts the Dolphins and the Raiders is right now, I feel that there is uncertainty about the quarterback position in both of those teams.
Right.
I think the Dolphins, we know Fitzpatrick is the quarterback, but the question is how long? Is it going to be the year or is it going to be less than that? And whether, and I think the Dolphins will be in contention whether they move past Fitzpatrick week 6 or they let him play the whole season. I think it's more about their coaching and what they bring to the table. But, the Raiders, I think it's more of an issue, because a lot of people don't know what they're going to get from Derek Carr. And if they're 1-3, 0-4, 2-4, somewhere down in that range, I could definitely see them making the move to Mariota. I think he's a better fit for Gruden's style offense. And I think that could definitely help them turn their season around too. If they were 2-4, I think, they go to Mariota, they could definitely pull a 10-6 out, because that's someone else who also has a chip on their shoulder in the AFC. So I think it'll be an interesting shakeout. I think all of those contenders and wildcard teams are, interchangeable. But I agree with Phil. My closest thing to a lock is probably the Broncos.
I respect it. Yeah, I see all your points, and I can't really disagree with any of them. I'm just hoping that because of this new year and we got some younger talent coming in, that some new teams get in the playoffs. I always like seeing teams that ain't never really been in there that much get in there. So that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm fucking tired of the Patriots being in the AFC fucking championship every fucking year. And I like that the Titans were in the AFC championship. That was something new that we haven't seen in a while. So I always like things to shake up like that. And let's go ahead and move on to the NFC. Young E, who do you have winning the NFC East?
NFC East. I think this is a toss-up. We kind of talked about it a bit earlier. I think what it comes down to 2 things for me. Who signs Earl Thomas? If it's one of these 2 teams, I think that's the difference maker in the division. If it's not one of these 2 teams, I think it comes down to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, as much as I love him and he's a fantastic player, he did not look like a top 3 tight end last year. At times, he didn't look like a top 5 tight end last year. At times, he didn't even look like a top 10 tight end last year. So I have big question marks about him and what he's going to bring to the table going forward. I know he has top 3 tight end level talent, but I know he's also had the injury problems as well. And in the games where he wasn't injured last year, I don't really know what was up. He had some really underperforming games last year, and really just didn't look like himself. And I think the Eagles need that out of him because they don't have very many weapons on the offensive side.
Okay. Flampus, what do you think about the NFC East?
I got the boys. I got the Cowboys. And what it comes down to is kind of what I said earlier. I think there's going to be a big step up for them just because they got rid of Jason Garrett. And I also think they're going to get Earl Thomas. And I think it's going to be done sooner than we all think. So I think with the addition of Earl Thomas, with the addition of Mike McCarthy, who I want to make it clear, I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan, but he's a competent coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He's not Jason Garrett. And that means something, goddammit. It means something. All right. And Dak took a huge step up last year. The passing game, I'm assuming, is going to take a step up with the addition of, what was his name? The receiver they got in the first round?
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb, yeah. CeeDee Lamb. With him, with, Amari Cooper. With Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, I think they're going to take a step up in the passing game. I think Zeke will be his normal self, hopefully. And I think they're just going to take the division, and I obviously with the Eagles, you got to be wary of Carson Wentz. You got to be wary of the coach. But overall, I think they're plagued with injury problems. And at this point, it's got to be something within their system. I don't know if they have a bad training staff or if they have some type of bad analytics with their, sports injury department. But something about that team, man, they just have injuries every single year. And I don't see them drafting well enough or getting enough talent in free agency to make up for the injuries that they're bound to have. And even without injuries, I'm not as big on their roster as I am on the Cowboys. So I have the boys.
Okay. I have the Eagles winning the division, and it's mostly in part because it's one of my favorite things that Stephen A. Smith talks about. When it comes to the Cowboys, what can go wrong will go wrong. And I just see that happening again. I know they got a new coach, and they should be better because of that. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get it together with Dak Prescott. I could see him maybe coming out and having a down year because once again, they failed to give him any sort of confidence that they want to keep him around.
Right.
So, I don't know. I like the Eagles. I like Carson Wentz a lot. He has all the tools, and they have one of the best coaches in the league. His offensive creativity is up there, along with Andy Reid. And I don't know. I just like the Eagles. I think it's their year again to finally make some noise in the playoffs. And hopefully I'm just really looking forward to Carson getting over that hump because he just keeps getting injured towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, like I said, the Cowboys, man, what can go wrong will go wrong. And guess what? I'm going to enjoy every second of it.
Hey, one other thing I want to say about this division and these two teams before we move on. I don't want to discount the other two teams in the division. I definitely think they can still compete because I think this division is really bad. I think the Giants have more of a position to compete than the Redskins, or not the Redskins, Washington team does. Just because I like Danny Dimes and I really like the young talent that they bring. And, who knows, Joe Judge could be the next Brian Flores, and we could see something like that there. You really don't
like his name.
I think with the Belichick, the Belichick coaches, it's kind of like a flip of the coin. Either you're gonna get Bill O'Brien or you're gonna get Brian Flores, or you're gonna get, you might get Matt Patricia or you might get Josh McDaniels. So it's like
Romeo Crennel. Oh,
but so I think don't discount the Giants. I definitely think they'll be in competition. But yeah, and the other thing I want to say is, just in case we get to that backup quarterback point down the road with the Eagles, they did get Jalen Hurts this year, who I thought was a sleeper pick in the 3rd round. A lot of people were confused about it. Don't know why. I understand it because Wentz has had his injury problems, and them as a team historically have had their injury problems. And Jalen Hurts was better than a third-round quarterback, and that's just my opinion on him. And backing up Wentz benefits him. So I think they have a solid backup plan again, and I think that's one of the Eagles' strengths is they always have the backup plans in place. So I think it's going to be really competitive down to the end.
So I'm going to put a rebuttal in on the Jalen Hurts point. So he had a great year. He had a fantastic year. But I honestly think Lincoln Raleigh at Oklahoma, he could put Jordan out there and Jordan would have 50 touchdowns.
No, so now you're discrediting at this point. You're discrediting Baker and Kyler. See, that's what shows to me out of Oklahoma is that those two guys have come into the NFL and they're both good products. So I don't think it's just
that's
the
fair.
system.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think they're actually putting out good players.
I was going to say as well that I don't think you should discount the Giants. I think when you have a running back that is so thick that if you've seen him in the club, you really might start singing. I wanna make love in this club. I like Danny Dimes too. He did surprise me last year.
Mm-hmm.
Philanthropist, you got anything else you want to say about the NFC East? You seem to have a little conflicting thoughts when it comes to young E and his opinions.
No, I think he made some fair points. Just for me overall, it just comes down to the fact that I truly, honestly believe the Cowboys probably have the third best roster in the league behind the Niners and probably the Seahawks or Ravens.
Okay. I respect it. And now moving on to the NFC West. I'll go ahead and just give my pick real quick. I think it's going to be the Seahawks, just from the standpoint of this division. The Niners and the Hawks, they just go at each other every single fucking year. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be hard to go back to back for the Niners, in my opinion, with the division. I think, they'll be 1-2 games apart. It'll come down to the last week. And it's just going to, I think in the next couple of years, we'll just see them, go back and forth winning the division. Philanthropist, what do you think about the NFC West and your team?
So, I want to make it clear that this is like a razor thin margin that I'm making this call on, but I have the Niners, partially because I'm a homer, but also because, I knew I was going to pick the Niners, so I had to rationalize it in my head. And something that I realize with the Seahawks every year, they never have a good offensive coordinator. Never. They're always calling some bullshit plays and they're getting bailed out because of Russ. And in addition to that, you got to think the biggest strength that the Niners coaching have is Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator or the play caller de facto. And then on the defensive side, both really stacked. I'll give Pete Carroll the edge there as a coach, but I think we just have slightly more talent on the defensive end. So I think with the gains that we have on offense over the Seahawks and the fact that we're right there with them on defense and potentially just a hedge better, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Niners. And I also want to mention that the Niners have been playing with a fire under their ass after the Super Bowl. I mean, everybody gives that lip service that, no, we're going to come back. But they've really bought in from the top down, whether it's Jimmy G, Kittle, Bosa, Quan Alexander's very vocal, Richard Sherman. We have experience now. We have guys who are hungry and want to win, and I think we're going to come out and take the division again.
I respect that. And if that happens, we got to stop calling him porn star Jimmy. Young E, what do you think about the NFC West?
I think obviously it's going to be the two teams you guys talk about. I think it's going to be 2 overtime games between them, 2 classics like it is every year. What it comes down to for me is, and I've talked about this before, who has the better kicker? And when it comes to Jason Myers of the Seahawks and Robbie Gould of the Niners, I am taking a healthy Robbie Gould over Jason Myers. And Jason Myers is a Pro Bowl kicker. He's a good kicker, but Robbie Gould is a veteran. He's been in the moments. He's been there. And that's the thing about Robbie Gould. And when he's healthy, I think he is as good as any kicker in the NFL except for one. So,
who?
Justin Tucker. There's nobody in that. He's in another level. We got to be honest about kickers. He's in.
What happened with Legatron, bro?
Man.
Greg Zuerlein.
Yeah, what happened to him?
He kind of fell off last year. He didn't have that great of a year. I mean, he still got the 64-yard boot, but he was a little bit more inaccurate last year. But we know we're seeing one of the greatest kickers in NFL history right now, so we got to respect that, and he's in his own tier. But I think when it comes down to these two teams, it's one of those matchups where it's really going to come down to the kicker, and I think Robbie Gould has that edge when he's healthy. And that's a big if. You know, he had his injury problems last year, and the Niners did a good job of bringing in some undrafted kickers and some kickers off of waivers to kind of fill in that spot. But, you know, if he's healthy, I definitely think they have the edge right there.
Philanthropist, moving on to the NFC North.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have winning that division?
I have the Vikings. I think this is the Vikings' year. I'm pretty vocal about the fact that I thought the Packers did not deserve to be 13-3 last year. They had one of the smallest victory margins in the league. They just didn't look like a team that should be 13-3. I think the Vikings are more talented. And, you know, beyond that, I think they know who they are more than the Packers do. I think the Packers are trying to force themselves into believing that they're a running team, which is effective for them, but you have Aaron Rodgers. You need to do something in the passing game beyond, you know, Madden plays. So I have the Vikings this year. I love their roster. I love Mike Zimmer. I think they're going to take it. I think they'll probably be in the 12-4 range. But yeah, that's my pick for this division.
Youngie, who you got?
I think it's a thin margin. I think these are two really good teams that are going to compete down to the end. But I also have the Vikings this year. I think
Trubisky.
I think the step forward that Dalvin Cook last year is really gonna, you know, we're gonna really see that this year come out. And I think the lack of improvements that the Packers made is really gonna come out in the spotlight this year.
Oh yeah.
Not having a second receiver is just gonna be, I think it's gonna be detrimental to their team because Devontae Adams, as good of a route runner as he is, he's gonna start getting double covered, and at that point, what do you do?
Okay.
Geronimo.
No, I could see it going both ways. I like both the Packers and the Vikings. I just think that it comes down to one man, one bad man.
He's a bad.
That's Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to come out with huge, blazing fire underneath his asshole. He is one of those guys that is just petty and wants to prove everybody wrong. You know his ass hears everything y'all motherfuckers are saying about him. He's going to step up, and he knows he's got a love boy behind him. He knows it's a matter of time before that love boy takes his spot. So I think he's going to come out and have one of the best seasons that he's had and then ask for a trade after the season's over. So I could see them just because Aaron Rodgers is going to come out. I know he's going to want to prove people wrong. And you know what? He's actually been very, from what I've seen, he's been very good at mentoring Jordan Love. So I think that relationship is not as bad as what people want to make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think he's going to want to prove a lot. He knows that he could have performed better, and he knows that his window to win the championship is getting very, very close to ending. So I think he's going to give it his all this season. So I think they're going to barely just edge out the Vikings. But like you guys said, I could see some flaws in having them fall down because they did, you know, not make the improvements and, you know, the margin of victory last year. There are some concerns, but I think at the end of the day, they got a bad man on that team. That's going to take them over the edge. So let's go ahead and move on into the NFC South. I'll go ahead and give my pick for that. I think it's going to be the Saints. I just think that their team overall, even with the declining Drew Brees, they have the better defense in comparison to the rest of the division. They have better skill players. Okay, with the Buccaneers, it's kind of tough, but I think when you throw in Alvin Kamara and then you have, you know, a top 3 wide receiver, Michael Thomas, it's just that's going to put him over the top with a quarterback like Drew Brees, even if he is declining. And of course, they have Sean Payton, who I do like Bruce Arians a lot. But I do think that Sean Payton is just a little bit better, even though he likes to complain all the time to the refs. I just think the Saints here are going to barely edge it out. But I think the NFC South will be a lot more competitive than it has been in the last recent years. Young E, what do you think about the NFC South? Who's going to win it?
This is one of my favorite divisions in football this year. I think it's very interesting to watch. I think, weirdly enough, like it doesn't seem like it, but it's deep from top to bottom. I think the Panthers are a better team than a lot of people want to give love to. Bringing in Teddy Bridgewater is a huge upgrade for them this year compared to what they had last year. I think Thomas Rule is a good coach, or Matt Rule. Sorry, not Thomas Rule. Matt Rule, he's a good coach, and I think he brings something to the table. I just don't think they're going to be able to hang with the star power of the other teams. I have it coming down to one game, but I have it being the Saints. I think, just like you said, their skill players are too good. Top to bottom, their defense is better and their offensive is better. They have probably the best offensive lineman in the league in Ryan Ramczyk. And, that dude's like 23, 24 and the best offensive lineman in the league. So he's only going to get better from here. And I think an X factor on their team that's going to kind of take them over the edge is Latavius Murray. We saw this guy back up Alvin Kamara last year and really fill that Mark Ingram role. And I think they needed that obviously last year when Alvin Kamara, I don't know how much Saints you guys got to watch last year, but he did not perform. I did not see him perform to his normal self.
I had him in a fantasy league and I was pissed.
Yeah. Not a single game last year did I see him perform to the way he did the year before. I don't know if it was a sophomore slump. I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know if really that first year it was just the difference between him and Mark Ingram. I don't know what it was. But I think Latavius Murray kind of brings that comfort there to where they know if he's not performing, they can still go and get 100 yards out of this backup. So I think it's the Saints, and I think it's on the back of Latavius Murray.
It's on his back.
It's on his back.
That's
12,
a take.
I don't like
1,200 yards out of him this year.
Scrimmage or rushing?
Scrimmage.
All right, that's a little better.
1,200 yards, 8 tubs, and he makes a big difference on that offense.
Wow, I like it. It's ballsy.
I don't know if I respect it or not, but it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. That's all I'll say about that. And then I'll just go ahead and throw out my wild card teams.
Whoa! Hey,
You skip Phil on the NFC South. Come on now.
Oh shit!
I know he was probably gonna say Falcons, and it's worth skipping, but
no,
my bad. No, I'm tripping.
I didn't have much to say. It was going to be the Saints. I don't really have anything to add. It was going to be one of my, set it and forget it picks. I will say I did take a look at the Bucks and I thought better of it, and I'm picking the Saints. That's it.
Okay.
There you go.
My bad. I apologize. So I do have the Bucks in my wild card, but I will say I'm not too high on them for reasons that we've mentioned before. And I did see a very declined Brady last year.
Mm-hmm.
I have been wrong about him before many fucking times. This cliff theory doesn't exist, right?
Lord knows.
But I will say that just because I do have the Bucks here doesn't mean I'm 100% confident in having them make it there. I could see a team like the Rams or potentially even the Cardinals going ahead and taking that spot instead of the Bucks. So I will say that. But my other two teams are going to be the Vikings and the 49ers for, things that we've mentioned. You guys have already mentioned before about them too. The Niners are just fucking stacked from top to bottom. Probably would win any other division in the NFL if it wasn't for the Seahawks, because they're just going to go back and forth, like I said. And then the Vikings are just too good. I think they're going to be ready to take the next step. They could potentially win the division, and they're just going to be one of the best teams in the NFC, period. I like Kirk Cousins a lot. I hope he can finally get together a good run. And, he has an NFC championship in him. I'd like to see it. So, Philanthropist, what do you think? Who do you got for your wild card?
So, for my wild cards, NFC is really tough, and it always is. It's really, really hard to differentiate. But the first two picks are pretty easy because they come from really good divisions. So, in the 5 spot, I have the Seahawks. It's really going to come down to the Seahawks are either going to win the division or get the wild card, and ditto for the Niners. So I won't elaborate on that. They're a great team. Next, I have the Packers. Very similar philosophy here. The Vikings and Packers are going to be top 2 in that division. They're both going to be playoff teams. For the 7th pick, this is where it gets tough. I picked the Buccaneers, and it was between the Bucks or the Rams. And I tried to zoom out, be as rational as I could. And what it came down to for me is that I think the Bucks just have a lot of talent on the offensive end, and I think Bruce Arians is not that much of a downgrade from Sean McVay for me to pick the Rams over them based off of that. I think the Rams have a lot of holes in their offense and a lot of things to figure out this year, And I think the Bucks are just better suited with their coach, with their defense, and even with the declined version of Brady. I think they're going to have a better chance to put together a playoff run. So I picked the Bucks for that last spot.
Okay, cool. Youngie, what you got for NFC wildcard?
I think it's tough, but I don't think it's as tough as the AFC. I don't think there's 7 teams in contention. I more have it 5 teams, and then, I throw the Cowboys or Eagles in there, but I don't think they'll really be in contention for the wild card. I just think they're one of them's going to win the division and one of them isn't. But obviously, Seahawks, Packers, both are interchangeable as division winners. I think both have potential to be number 1 seeds, number 2 seeds. But I just think both of them are going to get beat out in their division this year by slim margins. And then, same thing with Phil. That 7th spot for me, it's the Bucks. But for me, it came down to the Bucks or the Cardinals. I just see a lot of holes on that Rams team. I think their defense is not looking the best outside of Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers anymore. I think their offense is not the prettiest. They don't have receivers. They have Cooper Kupp, who's frequently injured. They have some good tight ends, but they lost Brandon Cooks this year, who he's had his injury problems, but he's still a good player when he's on the field. You lose Todd Gurley, you don't really have someone to fill into that spot. Even if he wasn't performing last year, he drew attention from defenses, so I think that hurts them, and they take a step back, and I think the Cardinals take that leap above them. But what it comes down to for me is the Bucks have that experience, and they have one of the nastiest offenses in the NFL without a running back. And that's crazy to me. They have no sort of running back. Their running back, I don't even think I'd put him in the top 30 because you have teams like the Ravens and the Niners who have 2, 3, 4 running backs who I'd put in the top 30. So, I think they're really lacking at the position, and it's going to hurt. But I think when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronkowski, OJ Howard, you're just bound to succeed. I think their defense is mid. It's not the best, but they kept Ndamukong Suh, which I think is good. They have Shaq Barrett, who's the reigning sack leader. He's a fucking beast. And one guy I really saw come out for them and play, who I think is going to be the X factor for them taking this over the Cardinals, is Devin White. Last year he was a rookie. I think he sat the first 6 games, but in those final 2 games he had like 4 sacks and 2 touchdowns, and like one of the touchdowns I saw him do was just ridiculous. He straight stripped the ball and ran like 40 yards straight out of a quarterback's hands. So I think that defense is going to improve, and I think they need that. And I think they're going to be a 7 seed, and I think they can improve on that in the years going forward, but they need to figure out that fucking running back position and then find a backup quarterback for next year.
Okay.
Ronald Jones is not the one. He's just not. I'm going to just put it at that. And LaShawn McCoy is not either.
I will say, in regards to the running backs for the Bucks, that Brady never really had like a top tier running back, but the way he does his screens and his fucking outlet passes, his check downs, like I don't really think you need a top tier running back. So if you have your wide receivers and you have Gronk and OJ Howard, I think they'll be fine. I just don't know how much he has left in the tank, and then I don't know how well that defense will hold up against some of the better teams. So that's why I have them potentially falling out. But I do see your points, and I could see them being a pretty good team if they have it, hitting on all cylinders. Do you guys have any else to say about our playoff prediction here?
Nope. I think it's going to be a good year, and I think it's a great year to go to 7 if you're going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the year to do it, and I think that 7 spot is going to be hot in both divisions. It's going to come down to that last game for sure. Yeah, probably 3 or 4 teams in there. So,
yeah, I'm really, it's kind of feeling like basketball too, that NFL is also getting some younger talent in there, and it's kind of changing the tide, and that we're getting a more equal playing field. You could say what you want about like the Chiefs and Ravens probably being way above everybody else in the AFC, but like we've said, any given Sunday, a team like the Titans can come through, right? So,
right.
Yeah, man, football is going to be exciting. I'm really hyped for it. I hope there's no hiccups with everything that's been going on with COVID. There was almost some bad shit about to happen because there was a bunch of false positives, but it looks like they're going to get that figured out.
Like 150, dude, across the 30 teams the last 2 days. 150 false positives.
It's crazy.
So, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. You guys want to go ahead and move on to the hot takes?
Let me just speak on MLB real quick.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I want 30 seconds. Fernando Tatis last week. I don't know if you guys saw. The San Diego Padres broke the record last week for the most consecutive games that they've hit a grand slam in. I think it was they ended up getting 4. I don't know if they pushed it to 5. One of those was a Fernando Tatis grand slam. Fernando Tatis, if you don't know, has been a top prospect in international baseball for a couple years. Got signed a couple years back. Top prospect coming up. Last year at 19 came up, got hurt, but still looked really good. This year, 21 is just fucking monster. He looks like he's going to be the MVP. He's got 12 home runs through some 30 games halfway through the season. Dude's a monster. But anyways, last week he hit a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch. And it got all these old school, old timing, baseball loving pieces of shit talking all of their dumb shit. Here's my thing. Okay. Stop with the fucking unwritten rules. There are no unwritten rules of baseball. If they were unwritten rules, they should be in the fucking rule book and written. There is no such thing as unwritten rules in any fucking sport. Play the goddamn sport the way the rules are written. Period. Okay? From that, if you don't want your 3-0 pitch to get hit for a home run, as well as the same conversation as if you don't want to see someone pimp your shit after they take you 450 feet to the fucking outfield, throw a better fucking pitch. Throw a better fucking pitch. That's it. You don't go in basketball. We watch basketball. We've seen Brandon Knight get dunked on fucking 50 times. You know what? He doesn't start punching someone, throwing the ball at someone because he got dunked on. You know what he does? He fucking deals with it. He goes to the other side of the court and misses some jump shots. Okay? He fucking deals with
Brandon Knight is in shambles right now, dude.
I'm sorry, bro. I liked Brandon Knight. He was good for a little bit, but he did get, like, I know it was a meme that he got dunked on a fucking lot. So, but like, that's just my thing. If you're gonna get upset about somebody flexing after a home run, if you're gonna get upset because somebody hit a home run on a 3-0 count, throw a better fucking pitch. Don't get to a 3-0 count. And if you're a pitcher and the batters are getting mad at you for getting hyped up after striking out, don't fucking strike out. It's that simple. Don't get mad at the other team because you fucking suck. Okay? That's it for me. I just wanted to talk about that because that shit really makes me mad.
Can you briefly explain why it's even an issue to swing on a 3-0 pitch? Is it because you're about to be walked?
So basically, most times, like from childhood baseball almost all the way up to the major leagues, they tell people not to swing on a 3-0 pitch just because the likeliness of you getting walked is extremely high. And, you know, if you think about it like this, you're 3-0, there is at least 3 opportunities for that pitcher to throw a strike. Mm-hmm. There is probably a 10% opportunity you actually make solid contact with the ball and get a base hit or a home run or something.
Okay.
So most of the time they will say risk reward, you know, just take the pitch. You'll see another one because 3-1 is a good count too. The pitcher's still going to have to throw a strike down the dick.
Right.
So, you know, you got that figured out. But 3-0 for the most part, you know, it's just a take. In the MLB, the superstars, they will tell the superstars 3-0 pitch, you see it, take it. Because they really have the potential. Like Bryce Harper is someone who, most teams when they get 3-0, they're just like either intentional walk or throw it right in the dirt because he's gonna fucking swing and he's gonna tank some shit if you throw it down the middle.
So I'm just having a hard time seeing how it's disrespectful to the pitcher in any way.
Yeah, it's not. It was just the Texas Rangers acting like some fucking babies. There's something with the teams out of Texas this year.
Okay,
they can't get it figured the fuck out. I wish they just suspend him for baseball because I'm getting tired of the little bitch ass shit. The Rangers are acting like some bitches about it. And
gotcha.
You know, the Rangers have been acting like some bitches, so I don't like that. And the Astros are on a whole another planet. They are on planet bitch. So Fuck them.
But
But
yeah,
that shit pisses me off, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here with the unwritten rules. If you want to not get fucked on, play better. It's that simple.
yeah,
like
philanthropist. When I when I played, and I'm sure it was the same thing for Young E. If you had a 3-0 count and you flew out or you hit, you got out from a ground ball, you're running laps after the game, or you're running extra laps at practice because that's it's technically not a smart play, but bro, if you're in the fucking MLB and you got a good ball and you just hit a grand slam, I don't know how you could even complain about that. It makes no fucking sense.
Right. Okay.
Just literally
That makes
pitch
sense.
better, bro. Like, you
Yeah.
obviously threw the ball in a spot where he could hit a grand slam. That's your fucking
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that to an outsider, someone who isn't like really in on baseball, it seems petty. It seems childish. And baseball has a lot of things like that. Like, for example, hitting people with pitches, which I've never been a fan of. I think that's the stupidest thing ever. Or being against bat flipping, which I also think is just ridiculous. Like Ethan said, all these unwritten rules. I mean, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if baseball just has that boomer mentality, but it really weighs on me a lot. It really honestly prevents me from getting into it more because I'm a basketball lover first and foremost from the time I could walk. And what I like most about that is how you can express yourself playing the game. Whether it's dunking and flexing on somebody or cussing someone out and trash talking, that's just part of the game. And it's a respect thing. Like, what's in the lines is in the lines. What's outside of the lines is completely different. And baseball, it seems like those lines are blurred.
Yeah.
And football has been actively over the years trying to reduce players expressing themselves, but even then, they still allow them to do their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just insane that sometimes I cannot believe the arguments that come out of baseball fans' mouth.
Yeah.
That's all I.
Exactly. Fucking mess.
All right. Let's get into the best part of the show, the hottest part of the show, the sweatiest part of the show. That is the hot takes here on the Couch Sports Talk Podcast. We're sitting here. We need.
I need water. Help me. I need water.
Here we go. Hot takes. Who's got one ready to fire off?
Pass it to me, bro. I got one for you.
All right. Philanthropist, you go ahead and lead us on this one.
So, NFC South. Let's go back there. All right. We know that Tom Brady's been in decline. We know that Drew Brees has been in decline. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. This year, and this year only, I'm not talking about their careers. I'm talking about this year right now. I think Matt Ryan might be the best quarterback in that division this year. That's out there. It's a hot take. Don't get me wrong. Like, the oven is on. It's at 450. You could throw a chicken breast in there and have it done in 20 minutes. I understand that.
Nope.
I'm taking a
Jameis.
risk. I'm taking Jameis. Taking a risk, and I'm saying that Matt Ryan's going to have the best year, best quarterback in that division.
Jameis got LASIK. He's the best quarterback in the division. That's all I got to say. He got LASIK. He needed it. Best quarterback in the division.
Nope. He needs to eat a W.
20/20 visions. I'm going to eat a W. That shit was so ass.
That was one of the most garbage fucking pep talks.
He can go learn from Drew Brees how to do a pep talk because Drew Brees is really good at those.
Use fire. Sometimes. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, he might have lost that mojo from this year. We'll see.
Youngie, you got one ready to fire off?
I do. So this is NFL as well. Kind of ties into the NFC South a little bit. I think this year is going to be one of the first times we see the 5 leading quarterbacks in the NFL in yardage wise. It's going to be young guys. I'm going to say all except for 2 are going to be under the age of 28. And I'm going to say Mahomes and Dak and Deshaun Watson obviously are my top 3. But this is kind of where it gets a little bit hotter. Matt Stafford, obviously going to put him in there. If he's healthy, he's definitely going to be in that. But I'm going to say Tom Brady is going to be top 3 in yardage this season, and it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with that offense. That fucking receiving core gets me so sauced. I feel like I have never seen anything like it since I saw Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Kobe Fleener all on the same team. Now you're getting, and or not Kobe Fleener, Dallas Clark. I don't know why I got those confused. Dallas Clark is a GOAT, man.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I'm gonna
But
give you that.
like Chris Godwin, you have Mike Evans, two really high-end possession guys. They're fast. They can do anything on the field. And then you bring in Gronk, who apparently has had a really good camp from what I've seen, from what I've been reading. And OJ Howard, who I've been really high on since he got drafted, and he's only going to improve with the better quarterback. I just think there's too many yards to be produced there this year. I think we saw Jameis put up 5,000 yards last year, or close to, on a 30 for 30. And that's just fucking ridiculous. We know that they have zero running game whatsoever. They're going to be passing 50 plus times a game. I just think it's inevitable that he ends up with 5,000 yards this season. But that's it.
Oh,
That's my hot take.
The Dink and Dak Tom Brady gonna
Okay.
lead the league in yards.
And
I'd love to see it.
Hey, even if 60-70% of it is yards after catch, and it might fucking be with that offense, it's going to happen. I think it's just inevitable.
McCoy might be a fantasy pickup if he's available late.
Yeah.
yeah.
I might take a flyer on him.
My hot take for today will be the NFL will go offense crazy and continue what's been going on in the NBA. I think having no crowd helps offensive playmaking so much. And I think we're going to see it make a big difference in the NFL because, you know, when you're in the away team and you have the crowd just yelling and the quarterbacks can barely hear the radio, you can barely hear the calls, there's a whole bunch of false starts. I think we're going to see possibly 6 to 8 quarterbacks this season go over 30 touchdowns. I think it may start out a little slow because we're not having preseason and it may take some time for offense to adjust. But I think once they get going, we're going to see games, we're going to see some teams maybe average like 30 to 33 points a game, something like that. I'm really excited to see it. I really hope something like that happens because we all know when there's a lot of fucking offense, it's a great fucking game to watch. One of the best games I've seen, Chiefs and Rams, a couple of years ago. If we could see
football.
If we could see some games like that this season, I'll be very happy. And I really do see more games like that happening. So that's my hot take for today.
I like it.
I like that.
And I think one of those quarterbacks that gets over 30 tubs, it's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to give a name, but I just think we're going to see a surprise.
43, baby.
43.
43. He had 29 last year, bro.
I know. He's going to do it, bro. And
He's going to do it.
18 of them are going to go to Kittle, but he's going to do it.
You know what's better than 43? 42.
And then I will say, too, I could see possibly maybe 4 quarterbacks going over 35.
That'd be incredible.
I agree.
Damn, Fitzpatrick
Lamar,
might have him a year.
Mahomes, Brady.
I don't see Lamar throwing 35 plus just because I know he'll run in like 5-7.
Hey, you are hating. He led the NFL in passing touchdowns last year.
I'm just saying.
We'll see. It's a good season.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm excited.
3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
COVID boy. Gotta be careful.
3 weeks away. I'm excited. What's the first game? It's the Chiefs versus who?
Texans, I think.
Texans.
Chiefs and Texans.
God.
Yeah. Would have been a good game last year, but this year not so much.
I will say too, I think that some teams are planning on having some fans. So it won't be totally
Cowboys
empty.
are.
I know Chiefs said 20% for opening game. I heard that announcement this week. So
That's so not worth it.
it's not, but they got to do something for the season ticket holders. They can't just give them the tickets and be like next year.
The booth boys. Have the booth boys come in and everybody else can't. That's what I'd do.
Okay. Well,
Phil.
that was our hot takes. I hope we're leaving you
I need water.
like that. You guys got any last things to say before we sign off here?
Hey man, episode 10. It's been a trip.
Yep.
I mean,
Full disclosure, I think this is 11.
No, this is 10.
no, this is
Oh,
10.
this is 10? All right,
This
all
is
right.
10. If you've made it this far with us, thank you. If you make it through every episode, thank you. Hopefully this is just the beginning of, something bright and fun that we get to experience in our future. But yeah, if you made it here with us, thank you. I mean, it really is something to be 10 episodes deep in this.
Definitely. And hopefully we can do in person soon. I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to add a whole different dynamic to it. Because, I don't know if, people that are listening could tell, but we're all really close friends. We've known each other for a while. So I think you'll be able to see the dynamic between the three of us and just a lot. You'll get to see the dynamic a lot better when we're in person. So hopefully we get to do that soon. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to continuing these NBA playoffs. Talking about that. I'm looking forward to possibly doing 3 shows a week, then getting the NFL going. Man, it's going to be exciting. I think we're going to have a lot of content to talk about. And yeah. Any last words, philanthropist?
Yeah. Last words for today. I just want to say happy birthday and rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. It would have been his 42nd birthday today. We miss you, man. We wish you were here. And just rest in peace and thoughts and prayers to his family as always.
Yeah, R.I.P. Kobe, man.
Definitely.
It seems like it was so long ago. It was such a big thing, man. The whole world stopped.
Right.
Yeah, I hope him and his family are doing well, and I really appreciate what Pau Gasol's doing.
Definitely.
Being a godfather there, and it's really nice to see, and it sets a good example as well. I think
Definitely.
a lot of I think men sometimes need to see stuff like that to show that what kind of support we can bring and what we can do. So yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Kobe, and looks like philanthropist froze there a little bit.
Yeah,
he
he's
definitely
gone.
did.
He's gone. He just
He's gone.
texted us.
He said his laptop died. So we'll go ahead and just
Man.
close it out here.
Hey, cheers to episode 10.
Episode 10. Hopefully we have another 110 episode runs.
Hell yeah.
We take that shit. We get to 100 very soon. Again, this is the Couch Sports Talk podcast here with philanthropist Young E. I am Goozy. Thank you for joining us once again. Please don't forget to like. And if you like us, man, give us a subscription. We're begging you. We want some. We want to get this to a bigger audience. We want to have some bigger conversations. We want some comments. Where in these whole topics, these shows, man, where are we being stupid? Let us know down below. Philanthropist just definitely just dipped out. That shit's gone. But again, this is the Couch Sports Talk podcast. Like and subscribe, comment, and have a good rest of your day.